Hello again. This is Ben Hitchcock Cross talking to you today, and oh boy, this is gonna be great. We've got uh the just I was about to go home, but we've got Hannah Dugan motion. I can already tell Stephen Biskupik um using Trump versus the Trump versus the United States case to defend Hannah Dugan against Trump. It's gonna be delicious. The one thing that I really am excited to see here, and maybe we can shed some light on locally, is we've got sort of what I would have called Republicans when I was in high school in the '90s, are now helping against this judge who was like a straight up Ukraine blue supporting um, person, and more power to her. All life is politics, but that's no those people were not normally on the same page um, some time ago. So it's going to be fascinating. Let's check it out. All right. Eastern District of Wisconsin, home to yours truly, defendant's motion to dismiss. Honorable, ooh, hilarious. Okay, going straight with the honorable. Honorable Hannah C. Dugan moves for an order dismissing the indictment. Ooh, this is no ordinary criminal case, and Dugan is no ordinary criminal defendant. I don't like that at all. Is she above the law? I don't like that at all. Dugan is a Milwaukee County Circuit Court judge. She was arrested and indicted for actions allegedly taken in and in the immediate vicinity of her courtroom involving a person appearing before her as a party. All right, these are good facts. I'm smelling an argument. The government's prosecution of Judge Dugan is virtually unprecedented and entirely unconstitutional. It violates the 10th Amendment and fundamental principles of federalism and comedy. Oh, I love comedy. Oh, 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 I love comedy. Reflected in the amendment and in the very structure of the United States Constitution. All right. Some of us may need a quick lecture on the 10th Amendment. All right. Otherwise known as the All Rights Reserve Clause. It's pretty much federalism. It says, all rights not expressly given to the federal government go to the states. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution nor prohibited by it to the states are reserved for the states, respectively, or to the people. I've always thought that, it's not entirely clear to me when it's the states and the people, or the states and the people are one, and it's the unity of the states and the people is always an interesting fact. All right. 10th Amendment, not on its face. I don't get that. Don't get that one on it yet. Fundamental principles of federalism. Got it that it's in her courtroom. Assuming that's in comedy. Yeah, got it. Reflected in that amendment, the very structure. The problems with this prosecution are legion. Ooh, couldn't they find another P word? But most immediately, the government cannot prosecute Judge Dugan because she is entitled to judicial immunity for her official acts. It's a little bit, that's acts in office, is probably a better way to put it. Immunity is not a defense of the prosecution to be determined later by a jury or a court. It's an absolute bar to the prosecution at the outset. And this is what got me from the get-go. Trump versus United States, which I have no doubt that many of the people who wrote this brief were infuriated by. No doubt. Which possibly with very good reason. Judge Dugan reserves her right to seek other relief, including by other motions before and at trial. All right, but the immunity and federal isms must be resolved swiftly because the government has no basis in law to prosecute her, and that prosecution is barred. The court should dismiss the indictment. That okay. That reserving the right get dead concept, the fact that immunity goes straight up front and they don't even get to ask you any questions, there's no discovery. I don't may agree with that or may not, but I don't disagree with that as a fair statement of the law. The court should dismiss the indictment. Rule 12 allows the court to grant relief. All right. So you can do it if you want to. In support of the motion, Judge Dugan shows the indictment charges Judge Dugan with concealing a person from arrest and obstruction for action she took in or near her courtroom. That is significant. A judge loses her authority the moment she leaves her courtroom, but she's still a judge if she's in the hallway. That's basically what that's saying. The alleged conduct ranges from directing people's movements in and around the courtroom to advising a party that he could appear remotely for his next hearing. Yeah. Okay. Directing people's movements, defendant or defense attorney. But I also assume in that sentence is the telling the ATFs to go see the chief judge or the what are the federal agents. Yeah, I mean, I'm coming around. Here's what I'm angry about is this. Those facts seem a little bit so remote from the headlines that everybody's already seen that, and it's not that it's bad. It's just that you're kind of known reality versus what this is saying seems to be slightly different. But hey, that's an allegation. The complaint alleges a more cohesive story. In part, it alleges the following. On Good Friday, April 8th, Judge Dugan was presiding over her misdemeanor docket in the Milwaukee County Courthouse. Only in Milwaukee. Good Friday. Among the many defendants with hearings that day was Eduardo Flores Ruiz. Federal agents arrived at the courthouse to execute an administrative arrest warrant. I don't understand that first sentence. A deputy in Judge Dugan's courtroom claimed that Judge Dugan directed Flores Ruiz to leave her courtroom through a jury door. Flores Ruiz emerged from a doorway into the same public hallway a few feet from Judge Dugan's courtroom doors. I will say this. Whether or not she allows him to go through the side door or the front door kind of seems like a judicial act to me, right or wrong. I'm getting there with that one. Federal law enforcement officers saw him, followed to the elevator, and continued to follow Flores, and then arrested him after a foot chase. It's the minimization, is the word we would say. Even if, contrary to what the trial evidence would show, Judge Dugan took the actions the complainant alleges, those plainly were judicial acts for which she has an absolute immunity from criminal prosecution. Judges are empowered to maintain control over their courtrooms, specifically in the courthouse generally. The issuance of an order removing persons from the courthouse in the interest of maintaining such control is an ordinary function performed by judges. It's an 11th Circuit decision. It's not good, but it's pretty darn. That's pretty good. All right. Judge Dugan's subjective motivations are irrelevant to immunity, right? Even if she's totally criminally doing it, if she's, let's say she's doing it to get him out of there because she hates Trump, right? That would not be criminal, even if she had criminal intent, is the fact. Judges are entitled to absolute immunity with regard for the judicial acts without regard to the motive with which those acts are allegedly performed. And this is also Trump versus the United States. In dividing official from unofficial acts, courts may not inquire into motive. Oof. Oh, I don't disagree with that as a concept. I don't think it's also such a big coup. Since at least the 7th century in England, carried on through common law in the United States, judges of record have been entitled to absolute immunity for official acts with few exceptions not applicable here, which is true. I mean, basically, if they're acting as a judge, even if they straight up shoot somebody, that is not grounds. You can't get them. I don't know how that would affect whatever. The point is it's criminal. Even fraud. What do you get? You get an appeal and an overturn of an appeal and maybe removing the guy from the bench, but you don't get to go after the judge. Judge Dugan, therefore, has both immunity from conviction and immunity from prosecution. The essence of immunity is its possessor's entitlement not to have to answer for his conduct in court. According to Trump, the entitlement is immunity from suit rather than a mere defense to liability, and like an absolute immunity, is effectively lost if a case is erroneously permitted to go to trial. You get to argue about immunity, that's for sure. That's a different sort of question, I guess. All right. Getting a little sick of the autofocus. Congress did not abrogate this common law. Congress enacted the law under Section 5 of the 14th Amendment with an express focus on the unconstitutional behavior of state actors, including judges. But the law cited are generic criminal statutes enacted pursuant to the Congress's Article 1 powers, reflecting no congressional intent to abrogate a bedrock immunity available to state judicial officials. It is doubtful that Congress's Article 1 powers would extend to criminalizing the acts of state court judges in their courtrooms. Doubtful. Criminalizing the acts of state court judge controlling her courtroom would implicate all the concerns that motivated the 10th Amendment. And nothing in this indictment alleges any violation of a person's constitutional rights in a way that implicate the unique concerns of the Reconstruction Amendment. I got it. Article 1 powers can't do it. The 14th, 15th, the Reconstruction stuff doesn't allow the federal government to get at it either. But the court need not decide whether Congress could have abrogated judicial immunity because Congress did not do so. Neither should be construed to criminalize an effort construed to criminalize an official act of state court judge, and the indictment does not allege that they do. That's clunky. But I get what they're saying. Basically, they're saying it's not an express power. It's not expressed anywhere. Nowhere is it written, so therefore they can't do it because it's an ancient principle. The problems with this indictment run deeper. Immunities aside, the indictment runs afoul of the 10th Amendment and the constitutional principles of federalism. Federal power is limited to specific enumerated areas in the Constitution. All of the powers are reserved to the states, respectively, or the people. That includes the general police power. Kind of feel like I see a font flux here. I'm just gonna say. This is gonna bother me. All right, it was just the T's that threw me off. Okay, that includes the general police power. The states retain it. The federal government does not have it. Man, the one thing I want to say about that fact is that's so out the freaking door. That is just not encompassing with reality, in my opinion. Like if directly or indirectly, if the federal government is affecting the police policies of the states through funding, I mean, I don't know. the general school power. I don't know. Unsurprisingly, then, the American judicial system empirically is almost entirely the realm of the states. Federal civil jurisdiction is limited. That is why over 99.4% of criminal cases filed in this country are in state courts. It's just, yeah, well, everybody knows that. The government's prosecution here reaches directly in the state's courthouse, disrupting active proceedings. That's the argument, and interferes with the official duties of an elected judge. That's the argument. Bam. A state defines itself as a sovereign through the structure of its government. I don't. And the character of those who exercise government authority. Judge Dugan was elected by the people of the Milwaukee County to adjudicate their disputes and administer the laws of Wisconsin. The federal government violated Wisconsin's sovereignty on April 8th Good Friday. The Good Friday violation, when it disrupted Judge Dugan's courtroom, and it is violating Wisconsin's sovereignty now with this prosecution. Now, all we have is the indictment to go on, but I didn't see them disrupting the courtroom in any sense. I didn't see that. And the federal agents, by my reckoning, disrupted nothing. I think they went and talked to the judge, and then that dude was so busy running away. I mean, wow. All right. Wow is not that significant. I mean, I've heard of also, it's not mind boggling. I'm just saying, hey, it is violating Wisconsin's sovereignty now with this prosecution. The court should end the violation of Wisconsin's sovereignty and dismiss the indictment. The practical matter, counsel for Judge Dugan stand ready to file briefs and to participate in an evidentiary hearing if either or both will aid the court. But they stand on the observation that any further proceedings in this case, other than immediate dismissal, are barred by official acts of immunity and judicial immunity. Oh, regardless, in the event, dated in Madison, in the event that this prosecution moves forward, Judge Dugan reserves her right to supplement this motion with briefings and other filings submitted with 20 days of the arraignment as provided in Criminal Local Rule 12B1, dated at Madison, Wisconsin, May 14th, 2025. Ooh, that's today. John Rick Reich. Well, okay. Strang Bradley. That's Stephen Biskupik. Okay, that's what I was looking for. He's out of Thiensville. Dean Strang is out of Madison? I didn't know that. Gimbal Riley. Okay. Stephen Biskupik is the former federal prosecutor, definitely appointed by Republicans, which is kind of funny in that sense. And Dean Strang, um, you're gonna at least know him for the Manitowoc murderer. What was that called? Golly, Stephen Avery and Rick Rash. Let me look him up. All right, you ready for this? Man, that's Dean. This is. I suspect this gentleman is the fellow who did all the work. Uh, so good for him. All right. Well, that's they all got him. They all got on this one. You got to give it. So I'm sorry. I'm getting lost in the local gossip. It really is, in many respects, the like all both the criminal bar, the sort of Republican, prosecutor for forever, um, and others. It's a whole thing. I mean, um, this let's say this is the official like whatever anti-Trump has now become response. I don't even know. Do they have an official color designation, or it's like purplish, or I don't know what it is. But to the response of the federalism response, and it's always my favorite. One of my favorite things about states' rights is you will often see people argue for both states' rights and federalism on the same month. Um, State rights and the power of the federal government, depending on where they how they stand to benefit at any given time. And don't we all? Well, all right. Thanks for sticking with us. We'll keep you informed.